Welcome to Diversity Dish, where we're dishing on everything diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice related. My name is Sedruola Maruska, and we're bridging the gap between what needs to be said and what needs to be heard. Those individual experiences that are often ignored or just simply dismissed. Sometimes I'm dining alone, sometimes I'm dining with friends, and sometimes I'm dining a-la-carte. No matter how I'm dining, it promises to be delicious. Let's dig in. Hi, before we get into our episode, I want to take a moment and send a shout out to my patrons over at Patreon. Those people who are actively supporting me on a monthly basis as I share information on how to be a better ally, anti-racist, and co-conspirator. I share exclusive video, audio, and podcast episodes there, along with articles and workshops. I'd love for you to come over and be part of my community. We're at patreon.com/Sedruola Maruska. That's SEDRUOLA Maruska. Now let's get into our episode. Before we get into our conversation, let me tell you a little bit about our guest, Michelle Mercier, today. She's a business strategy coach, the founder of the Surviving Entrepreneurship Community, and the host of the Resilient Entrepreneur podcast, which debuted on iTunes at number 15 on the U.S. entrepreneurial chart.
Hey, Michelle, how are you? Thank you so much for being on today.
Hey there. I am so excited to be here with you today. I love talking to you. Woo! So excited.
Yes, I'm talking to you too. Thank you. So in this short episode, I would like for you to answer this one question for me. Okay. What one thing do you know now that you didn't know when you started your business and that you wish you did? And how did you learn it?
Oh, God. Just one, man.
One. We don't have a lot of time.
I was like, I could pick out one from like this week, and it's only Wednesday if you want. Like, you know, I just, there's so many. I think, oh gosh, if I have to boil it down, I mean, I think it is the one thing that I learned. The one thing. You know,
or just one thing, not yeah. the one thing, but one thing. A thing.
Like, that's
not the one thing.
No.
Yes, I know.
I mean, I think one thing is that not to be 100% married to your business idea. I think, you know, a lot of people come in from day one. I see it a lot in new entrepreneurs, and it's not necessarily not being married to your vision, because your vision itself can be one thing, but the way that you get to that vision could, you know, you could take 50 different roads. So for me personally, when I started my business, I had a completely different vision than I did now. But the part that was always the throughput that was constantly happening was, you know, I was coaching female entrepreneurs, and I was always kind of doing that type of thing. But it looks a lot different than it did 4 or 5 years ago when I started. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Versus I think some people get so wrapped up in, I'm going to do my branding, and it's going to be, you know, concrete, and I'm going to stay with this and be married to it for the next 10 years. Like, you know, you're just kind of boxing yourself in for future potential that you could be doing with your business.
Right. And how did you come to that? Like, how did you figure that out, or learn it, or allow yourself to let go of that initial vision so that you could go where the vision took you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of painful conversations with myself, I think, you know, because I was very married, and I think I'm a typical kind of action-oriented type A kind of person. So for me to sit down and say, okay, well, maybe that didn't work so well, you know, you have to move, you have to pivot, was a pretty big deal in my mind. But now I think it's kind of like a muscle where you work it, and after a while it's stronger. So now, I mean, thank goodness, because as we hit the pandemic, I was very well versed in the, like, no, you don't have to stay here. Your vision or your mission or who you are as a human being needs to maintain like itself, and which is why my company is called Create Honesty, but the branding of that, the way that we serve, anything like that can change at any time. So that's kind of how I decided in a nutshell. A little painful, but now that I've got it, it's second nature to be able to kind of pivot.
Yeah. And I love that because I think I've experienced that kind of over and over. It's kind of, I think people feel bad when they feel that they're kind of a serial entrepreneur. But I think that that's part of the growth. It's part of the learning, and it's part of the finding where you want to be. Like you said, that initial thing may not be the 100% ideal thing. Not that there's 100% ideal.
Anything.
But it may not. Yeah. Right. But it may not be the place that they really want to be. But they get so married to it that they stick with it. And even if they're miserable and it's painful and it's like, they're still there grinding and thinking, this whole entrepreneurial journey sucks. It sucks.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the same mentality that we have, like, go to college, get the degree. And by the way, get the degree, spend thousands and thousands of dollars before you even step foot in the career and know that you like it. So same thing when you're coming into a new business, you have a vision that's amazing, but in real life and in execution, is it going to work with your life? Is it going to work with your family? Are you actually going to like it? And by like it, I mean, you're not going to like all the moments of it, but does it feed you in the way that you need to be fed in that chapter of your life? And I think that's just good advice for entrepreneurs or people in general. Just reevaluate where you are so that you can constantly be tweaking and learning and growing.
Yes. And by the way, I want to put a plug in here for your podcast, which is The Resilient Entrepreneur, which I've been on, but I think it's fantastic for this type of discussion where it helps you get different ideas about how to actually resiliently move forward, because entrepreneurship requires resilience.
Yes. It should be like in the manual. Yep.
Yeah.
If there was one.
If there was one, it would definitely be in there. And so I think that people should check you out. I will definitely put it in the show notes. But yes, I think that that's great advice. And I really appreciate you sharing that with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Where can people find you, by the way?
You can
besides the Resilient Entrepreneur.
Yeah, of course. You can find me at all things Create Honesty. So createhonesty.com. On Facebook, my handle is Create Honesty. Surviving Entrepreneurship Community is my Facebook group, if you want to look that up. And then Instagram and Twitter, both Create Honesty.
I love it. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. I think you've given some people something to think about, and I think some people are going to be pivoting.
Good. Good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Love having you every time.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed that episode, please download, rate, and share this podcast. Also, don't forget to come by patreon.com/Sedruola Maruska and be part of the community. Look forward to seeing you next time.